Welcome to the Round the League podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Round the League podcast. I'm your host Bryant, and this is your podcast for everything sports. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts at the Round the League podcast and on YouTube at B-Man Film, so let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with a couple things about the podcast. I did set up an email now, so if you have any questions, segment ideas, you can go ahead and email me. You can email me at the Round the League podcast at gmail.com there, and also if you want, you can send me a video that will be that I will put in the podcast, so you will be able to be in the podcast, and you will have your question in there, just like say like a phone call on a radio station. So now let's go ahead and get into it with the NHL. The Tampa Bay Lightning have beaten the Dallas Stars. This is a little bit of old news, but the Tampa Bay Lightning beat the Dallas Stars 4-2. Tampa Bay wins the series 2-0 in Game 6. They got all 4 wins and only held the Dallas Stars to 2 wins. They scored 2 goals. The first one was in the first period, and the next one was in the second period. The first one came from Bryant, number 21. He had a nice shot from right in between the penalty circles, rebounded off the goalie, and he picked up his own rebound and tapped it right into an open net. And then in the second period, Blake Coleman got the other goal. This was a really great play. You had Patrick Maroon. He came off the bench, stole the puck, and was able to take it down right in between the penalty circles. Then he passed it back to Cedric Paquette, I probably messed that name up, who then sent the puck across the ice to Blake Coleman, who scored the second goal and the final goal of the Stanley Cup playoff. So the Tampa Bay Lightning are now the Stanley Cup champions. They had a great ceremony, which is something that I haven't seen before. They had fireworks there since they didn't have to worry about smoke or hurting anyone, since there were not as many people in the arena. So that was pretty cool, but that's it from the NHL. And so we will hear from the NHL again on December 1st, 2020. Which is actually coming up pretty soon. They plan to have their full 82-game season ending what should be in April 2021. So hopefully that will go according to plan. No news on any fans in the arenas or anything. But that's it for the NHL. Now let's move into college football. And now week 5 of the college football season has rolled around, the second week of the SEC. So I'm just going to go over some of these games here. We've got South Carolina losing to number 3 Florida 24-38. And then big upset, unranked TCU went into Texas and beat number 9 Texas 33-21. Tennessee actually looking pretty good this year, beat Missouri 12-35. Number 24 Pittsburgh was beat by NC State 30-29. SMU beat number 25 ranked Memphis 27-30, and this was actually an interesting game because the police actually had to come in and they kicked out the SMU student section because they were not following the COVID-19 guidelines. So I guess they were packed in too closely or something like that. But they got kicked out, which is pretty interesting and nothing that I've ever seen before. You have number 13 Texas A&M losing to number 2 Alabama 24-52. Arkansas upset number 16 Mississippi State, who beat the defending national champions, the LSU Tigers, last year. They beat Mississippi State by a touchdown, 21-14. Huge game, the night game. Number 7 Auburn lost to Georgia 27-6, and I will say I severely, or as severely as I can, apologize to all Georgia fans. I did doubt your team after a not very good performance in the first half of the Arkansas game, but I mean Georgia's looking pretty real. Next week they have Tennessee, and then the week after that they come to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. So I don't know, I think Georgia could end up being a better team than I initially thought. So I'm sorry, Georgia fans, but there you are. Tulsa win and upset number 11, the 2018 national champions, the UCF Golden Knights, 34-26. UCF was ranked number 11. I always like to see them lose because they like to proclaim themselves as the national champions, even though they beat nobody but go undefeated. So, number 18 Oklahoma got upset by Iowa State, 30-37. So I feel like the Big 12, right? They are not. They haven't been very strong. They haven't shown themselves to be a very strong conference. And I feel like they just keep hurting their own conference because they'll have these big teams a week after week, right? Last week it was Oklahoma losing to Kansas State, right? Oklahoma or Texas, right? They're too high. Were highly ranked teams coming into the season in the top 10. Right, and then they just have other teams from their conference just come in and beat them, and that just degrades how good the Big 12 is, and it really pushes them further away from them being, oh yes, this one-loss conference champion can easily get into the playoffs. I feel like it's going to get tougher and tougher for the Big 12 teams to actually make it into the playoff now. And then finally, number 20 LSU, they got pushed from number 6 to number 20 after the loss to Mississippi State. They beat Vanderbilt 41-7, and Clemson was back in action, destroying Virginia 23-41. And that is it from college football, and now let's move into the NFL. Alrighty, now moving into the NFL. Last week, on Monday night, the Chiefs beat the Ravens 34-20. This was an interesting game. These are two of the biggest teams in the NFL, and a lot of people's pick to make the Super Bowl. And the Chiefs beat the Ravens pretty handily, 34-20. Lamar did not have a very good game, only getting 10 fantasy points for me last week, so that wasn't very good, but it really showed how strong this Chiefs team is, going up a great defense, one of the best defenses and offenses in the league, and the Chiefs were able to get it done. I mean, that could be said for both of these teams, but now moving in, the Broncos and the Jets, both teams that have lost every single game, 0-3 before Thursday night. The Broncos were able to beat the Jets 37-28. Jerry Jeudy, the rookie, he was able to get his first touchdown, and it was a very nice play. It bounced off the Jets defender's face mask. It was a well-defended play. It bounced off his face mask, and Jeudy was able to make the catch. Very interesting quarterback situation for the Broncos, as they lost both their starter and their backup, so their third string is the starter already in Week 4, and the Jets' Sam Darnold was also injured during that game. But now I'm going to go ahead and go on with these picks already in the second quarter, but I think I could still make it work here. So the Saints and the Lions going to pick the Saints. Chargers and Buccaneers, the Chargers have been looking good. Jaguars and Bengals, I'm going to go with the Jags. Vikings and Texans, I'm going to go with the Texans. Seahawks and Dolphins, definitely the Seahawks. Panthers and Cardinals, Cardinals. Browns at the Cowboys, going to go with the Browns. The Giants at the Rams, Rams. Ravens and Washington, easily the Ravens. Bills at the Raiders, going to go with the Raiders. Eagles at the 49ers, going to go with the 49ers. Falcons at the Packers, going to go with the Packers. Patriots at the Chiefs, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Colts at the Bears, going to go with the Colts. And that is it. And so the Patriots game actually got postponed, the Patriots versus the Chiefs, because a couple players got COVID in those teams, headlined by, or I guess the only player for the Patriots was Cam Newton, their star quarterback. He was out, so they had to push the game from today to tomorrow at 7:05. And then after that, the Falcons and Packers game is pushed back to almost 9 o'clock. So I think those games will actually end up overlapping a little bit, which is interesting. But the Falcons and the Packers and the Chiefs and the Patriots will both be playing on Monday night. The Titans had 18 personnel, including players and coaches, in their organization get COVID, which had to delay their game and push it back to later in the season. and that was the Titans and the Steelers. And that is it from the NFL, so now let's go to the MLB. Alrighty, now moving into the MLB postseason. Second to last topic, the wild card games are over. They did not give anyone a bye, so every team had to play in a wild card game. Let's just start off with the NL, the National League. In the first game, or in the first series, all of these were 3-game series. In the first series, the Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Brewers. So the Dodgers move on. The San Diego Padres moved on against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cubs got swept by the Marlins, and the Braves swept the Reds. This was a very interesting series. They actually went 13 innings in the first game, scoreless. And then Freddie Freeman finally knocked in the first run of the game in the 13th inning to finish it off. But the Braves swept the Reds without the Reds even scoring a single run. And then in the American League, Tampa Bay beat the Blue Jays. The Indians lost to the Yankees. The Astros beat the Twins. The A's beat the White Sox. So that's it for the wild card matchups. Now let's move into the divisional series. We will have in the NL, the Dodgers playing the Padres and the Marlins playing the Braves. And then in the American League divisional series, we have the Tampa Bay Rays playing the Yankees and the Astros playing the A's. All of these will be 5-game series, so a little bit more time for shifts and stuff, and I'm sure a lot less sweep than these last 3-game series. But that's it for the MLB. Moving along in the 2020 postseason. And now finally let's move into the NBA. With the NBA Finals underway, the Heat are playing against the Lakers. So far the Lakers are up 2-0. They haven't dropped the first game like they have in all the other series that they played in. But the Heat lost to the Lakers in the first game 98-116. And then the Heat lost 114-124, high-scoring game there. And then tonight at 7:30 will be Game 3. And then Tuesday will be Game 4 at 9. So who knows, maybe by Tuesday the series could be wrapped up the way that the Lakers have been absolutely destroying every team that they have played so far. But that's it for the NBA and this week's edition of the Round the League podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Round the League podcast. You can tune in next Wednesday for another episode.